So there's a planet called Vetsoria in the middle of a vacuum space. On this planet, there's a bunch of cool animals and stuff. Also, there was originally a singular potato plant with 7 potatoes growing under it. Anyways, when the 7 potatoes were fully grown, the soil made them grow limbs and stuff. The names of these potatoes were Tim, Jim, Bob, Jake, Tessiris, Dude, and David. So there's a planet called Vetsoria in the middle of a vacuum. Due to the soil on Vetsoria, the average adult potato is about 61 centimeters tall. I hate impro measurement, and has an average lifespan of 150 years. The potatoes on Vetsoria are yellow fin potatoes, but I still like to draw them in white. Vetsoria is not that big. It's about the size of Connecticut, so it's pretty tiny. The original 7 potatoes were grown on one of the islands in a ring of islands. Jake and Tessiris populated 89.5% of the next generation of potatoes. Jake is everyone's father. Jake is your father. The original 7 potatoes decided that 5 of the 7 islands that the potatoes lived on would represent different places in authority and privileges. If you do something good for the civilization, you would be promoted to the next island in order. Of course, only if you wanted to. When the potatoes first started out on Vetsoria, their buildings didn't have the best architecture. They mainly lived in small little huts of wood and stuff. The potatoes also farmed a lot too, since they are vegan. The potatoes crowned Tessiris as queen and built her a cool castle. The first island of the ring had a detention center, so if a potato fights somebody or does something controversially bad, they will go to the detention center for a day. The second island is called the Potato Town, which has a bunch of lemonade. The third island has the Potato City, with a cool apartment complex. The fourth island has the Potato Court, where many decisions are made. The fifth island has the Potato Suburbs, with cool houses and stuff. The sixth island has Potato Paradise, where the original 7 potatoes live. And the 7th island has the Potato Castle. There's not much school in potato civilization. School is only 2 to 3 hours, there's no homework, and it's only about 70 days a year. Potatoes use solar panels, wind, and water to power things, instead of coal and oil. Potatoes don't have proper currency. They mostly just trade resources. Also, potatoes don't have roads or cars or heavy machinery or plastic. They mostly just use natural stuff. Because like I said, Vetsoria isn't that big. Think of potatoes as monkeys that know engineering and architecture and build houses and use solar panels and wind turbines. Anyways, enough explaining potato civilization. Let's get to the history! Part 1! One of Tessiris' 17 kids, Sean, poisoned Tessiris, hoping to become leader after her. But after Sean oofed Tessiris, Sean's sister, Emily, called dibs on being leader first. Sean led a silent temper tantrum. When Emily was leader, potato civilization was great. Potatoes were happy and healthy, and resources and animals were protected. But there was this crazy guy named Joe who wanted to be king. He said anyone who objected shall be burnt to a crisp and have their land stripped barren. Eventually, Emily threw him in the ocean, and Joe got all soggy and stuff. Yeah, if a potato gets too wet for too long, or overwatered, then they'll get oofed. Then Emily died of illness, so then Sean became king. Sean made the potatoes get rid of the solar panels and replace them with coal. He used tons of oil and printed money for currency. But he wouldn't stop there. Nothing would ever end Sean's endless greed for power. Meanwhile, Joe's nephew, Tony, was chugging gallons of lemonade peacefully in Potato Town while everyone else was freaking out over Sean being king. "We can't use coal for power!" Tony's dad, Buster Brown, said. "Haha, lemonade," said Tony. Tony went to the doctor because he had a big fat stomach ache, only to find out that he's a lemonaholic. "Haha, no, that can't be true," Tony told his doctor. Tony's doctor proceeded to rip out the lemons from Tony's stomach. Everyone becomes poor because of Sean using money as currency, so a bunch of potatoes starve because they can't afford food, so Sean just eats it all. Tony starts a lemonade stand. Only one potato, named Mike, bought lemonade from the lemonade stand and instantly became Tony's best friend. Tony enters the annual lemonade contest and literally crushes everyone, so as a prize he's upgraded to the Potato City. Then Sean forces everyone to be his slave for 10 hours and mine coal. One of the potatoes attacked Sean, only to be kicked to the opposite end of the cave. Sean also forced some potatoes to be a servant in his castle. Then a chunky earthquake starts and Tony literally saves everyone from almost falling into a sinkhole, but no one acknowledges him. Everyone falls ill because of the smoke from the coal, so a quarter of the population disintegrates. Then Sean makes the potatoes pay tax, but not for the community, it's just for Sean. So the potatoes start a protest to get rid of Sean's currency and tax, but Sean just throws them all in the detention center for a week, including Tony. When Tony gets out of the detention center, he tells the paper company to make paper out of dried fallen leaves instead of wood so they can save resources or whatever. But then Sean shows up and says no, because if you let Tony do that, then he won't be able to print as much money. A lot of the oil that Sean used ended up in the ocean, so a bunch of plants died, making a big famine start. But it's not like potatoes could afford food anyways. Sean literally kills animals so we can eat, even though potatoes are vegan. Then a bunch of potatoes die of starvation. Tony saves some kids from falling into the ocean, so everybody thinks he should be advanced to the potato suburbs. No, says Sean. Yes, says everybody else. Fine. Yeah! Then a big forest fire starts in the potato suburbs, and everybody passes out because of the smoke, except for guess who? Tony. So Tony robs all of the corpses. He saves all of the potatoes by dragging them to the potato paradise and doing CPR. Sean is jealous because Tony keeps on saving too many potatoes. David, the judge, says Tony should be upgraded to potato paradise. Potato paradise is only for the original 7 potatoes. And besides, Tony smells like lemons, says Sean. Well, I don't care, says Dave. But I'm the king, bozo. Well, I'm the judge. Well, I'm the... Everybody freaks out over Tony being potato paradise. Tony is put on coal mining duty again, along with 5 other potatoes. Then the cave collapses in on itself, and everybody gets a bunch of boo-boos, so they all go to the hospital, including Tony. When Tony gets out of the hospital, Sean orders that everyone must stay on their assigned island and should never be moved up. Everyone proceeds to starve even more, and Tony can't even afford lemonade anymore, so he gets a job as a baker but fails miserably at it. Then Tony literally sees Sean literally walk inside of a mountain in potato paradise. Tony shares his plan to take down Sean with Mike and some other potatoes, but they are refused. I'm too young to die. No way. I'm only 23. Sorry, bro. Tony decides to take matters into his own hands and take down Sean by himself. He climbs up the mountain and finds the door that Sean went through. Turns out Sean made a secret fortress with a big hole in the mountain that the potatoes mined out for coal. Tony finds Sean working on a bunch of evil stuff or whatever antagonist do. Tony confronts Sean, only to be kicked in the nuts. Ouchie! Then the mountain collapses in on itself and Dude's house really falls on Tony while Sean dodges it. Tony is crushed by Dude's house when it lands, but he had Protection 5 and Breaking 3 equipped, so don't worry. Then Sean literally drops a bomb on Tony while he escapes. Tony is shot out through the top of the mountain due to the bomb and lands on Sean, causing Sean to fall into the ocean and get all soggy. Yippee! Says Tony. Everybody cheers for Tony and crowns him as king. Part 2! Okay, so there's a big time gap between part 1 and part 2. So basically, Tony marries one of Tasiri's great-great-granddaughters, Molly, and his 2 daughters, Destiny and Luna. Potato civilization under Tony's leadership is happy and organized. He got rid of the coal and oil and brought back solar panels and wind turbines. He repaired the damages that Sean left behind, got rid of Sean's currency and tax, and farmed a lot for the kingdom. But Tony is stressed out about being king. I don't know if I can handle it, says Tony. Dude, all you do is just drink lemonade all day. Then everybody says it smells like coal. Tony isn't bothered by this, though. It's not like this will cause a big war, new discoveries, injuries, and multiple times of death. So then more and more people start to notice the change of smell in the air. The last time I got a whiff of that was when Sean was king. Buster Brown is old. So then Tony finally listens to it and literally discovers a new species. Turns out, stickmen have been on an island of Victoria this whole entire time. But literally nobody knew because they just stayed on the 7 potato islands. The stickmen were burning tons of coal and using a lot of oil. So Tony goes to Stickman Island and tells them to stop burning coal and using oil. But the stickmen are like, ew, what even are you, like a rat or something? Ugh! So after Tony roasts the stickman king, Jeff, the stickmen pull out literal RPGs. So Tony books it and hides in the city hall for 2 hours, only to be caught by Jeff, then locked up in prison. So while all the potatoes freak out without Tony, Tony realizes that he cannot escape from the prison. Just kidding, Tony just stole an RPG and busted out of it. Tony tells everybody what happened, and they said that they should attack the stickmen. No! Violence should be the last resort! Jeff is still very mad at Tony for roasting him, so the stickman army raid the potatoes. A bunch of potatoes got hurt, so the hospitals were flooded. Potatoes have no military, because why would they? Eventually, the potatoes fought the stickmen off, though. The stickmen kept pumping out oil and making the ocean polluted, killing all of the potatoes' crops. Tony goes to Stickman Island at night to steal the RPG blueprint so he can make a mega RPG, lure the stickmen towards it with cake, tie them onto it, and then them onto the rocket. Hey Tony, what happened to violence should be the last resort? So all the potatoes hid and waited for the stickmen to attack. The stickmen eventually did come, but it turns out they didn't like cake. The stickmen knew something was up, so they found Destiny and threw her into the ocean. Tony jumped in after her, and so did Jeff, because stickmen don't get soggy in water like potatoes do. Tony swam towards Destiny, trying not to get soggy. Says Jeff before he realizes that he is about to get eaten by a Vetsoria sea monster. Tony and Destiny get out of the water safely, and all the stickmen try to run away because they realize Jeff is dead. But Tony just ties them to the RPG and they're all blasted away. Yippee!